The purpose of this screencast is to take you through a successful student persuasive argument research paper. I picked this one because, first of all, his blog, I've given you the link to Dominic's blog, and you can see how he goes from the process of doing the blog, researching his topic, thinking about his topic, and then the final product here. That's one reason I picked it. Another reason I picked it is because Dominic did a lot of in-depth research and used very little quotation. He did use a lot of facts, but he did an excellent job of paraphrasing and putting this whole paper in his own words. So anyway, let's take a ride here for a little bit. And as we go through it, I'll stop and talk about different aspects of it. So his topic is, is private basically better or public education? He starts out with this motif about parents that he's going to actually use to tie this whole thing together. Parents have an innate desire to want the absolute best for their children. Education is the foundation of a child's success and in turn is an important and often difficult decision for parents to make. In a society where most families are not overly prosperous and may be strapped financially, both the quality of education and the cost of that education are of concern. Okay, so he talks right away from the beginning how he's going to couch this. He's going to look at the fact that it's important for a good education because it's a foundation for success, and how important it is for parents to be involved, and how financially it might not be easy for everyone, but is it a commitment that parents should make? Notice that he has a fairly long introduction, goes all the way down to here before we even get the thesis. But I think he needs that. So he introduced the topic, private versus public education. Then he takes his own past and talks a little bit about him being in a private school. And then he goes into just basic statistics about how many public and private schools there are in the United States, etc., and the average cost of it, okay? Then here's this motif that he's going to keep coming back to. Let's go to the sentence before it. Clearly, private school education isn't cheap and can be a financial struggle. For that reason, it is imperative that parents be convinced that private education is worth the investment. Okay, so he's still bringing us that important building block of the parents' role. That is not his thesis together. However, here's his thesis. Reviewing private school academic achievement and test scores, the environment private schools provide, and the higher level of college placement for private school students easily provide justification of paying for a private school education. So here's his 3 points he's going to concentrate on. The achievement and test scores, the environment of private versus public schools, and the higher level of college placement. Okay? And then his argument wants to be paying for private school education is a good thing to do. Notice how he connects the point of parental commitment here throughout the whole, he doesn't go into it too much until the very end, but it's definitely connected back again. He brings it into the conclusion, so you'll see that in the end. Here's parents again. Okay, but after this, he kind of waits to really hit the parents up again until the end. Okay, so the first point he's going to talk about is the achievement levels. And he goes through and shows how private school students continue to outperform public school students. This whole thing is about that, using reports like the United States National Center for Educational Statistics and the Council for American Private Education. So he's got some really good sources, and we're going to talk about how he cited those sources in a little while. So he talks about this, and then here's the ending up to his first point. Private school students who are performing at advanced benchmarks are given greater opportunity to continue to be challenged with more advanced course offerings and instruction. And then here's a transition to his next point. The success for students who attend privately funded primary and secondary schools does not end on graduation day. In fact, according to CAPE's website, the United States Department of Education reports that 67% of private high school graduates attend four-year colleges, as opposed to only 40% of public high school graduates. Okay, so he's bringing in the fact that now more of them, percentage-wise, are placed. Okay? You notice here, he didn't use a quotation here, did he? He paraphrased his source, got those statistics in there, but he's still preserving his own writing voice. And this is something that we should all strive to do a lot more in our writing. Here's something I wanted to take a look at. We'll just take a side trip here on in-text citations, okay? Now, notice up here it says United States. So now let's go over to his Works Cited page and see, okay, what source are we looking at? Here's his Works Cited, which I've copied to a different place. So we scroll down to where the U is. This is a very long citation, but you need to have all these elements in it for proper MLA citation. In fact, let me just pull up this really quickly here. Where did I put that? This is a copy from Writer's Help about what all goes into a government agency as author. So anything you get from a governmental website, you have to go through all of these. And I will place this PDF in the module for you. First you say the government. Is it the United States? Is it the state of Colorado? Then the department, then the agency, then the title of the document, title of the website, even if it is the same thing as this. You have to do it again, and notice website titles are always italicized in MLA. Then the sponsor of the website, even though you know it's got to be the Department of the Interior or whatever, you have to say it again. Date of the publication, the medium is web, and the date of access. And notice again it's inverted, 20 May 2009. Okay, so that's everything. Let's go see how Dominic did it in his Works Cited. Let's see, I lost it. Come back here, you. Okay. Here's the government agency, here is the department, here is what's underneath the department. So within the Department of Education, then there's the National Center for Education and Statistics. Here's the name of the report, Public and Private Schools, How Do They Differ? Report number 12. Here's the website name, National Center for Education and Statistics. The sponsor is the Department of Education. It came out in 1997. And then here's web and inverted date. Now, notice he went ahead and put the URL here. And this is a case in which it is a good idea for you to put the URL. You don't have to. In fact, you shouldn't put the URLs in everywhere because URLs change. Okay? What matters is the website that he found it on, and you can go through the different layers and find this report. But because it is a PDF that he actually got online, he went ahead and put that right here. That is a good time to go ahead and use a URL. Another case would be, for example, I've seen where you go to a website and you have to go down 3 or 4 or 5 layers to find the article that you used. So trying to direct your reader to finding that is very difficult. So in that case, you could always add the URL. Notice how you have to put it in carets before and after, and then it's always followed with a period. Okay, so so then he would use the words United States because they're the first words on the left side of this citation, Works Cited page. So here you'd use benefits of, the condition of. Here, because you have 2 authors, you'd say Farrell and Vance. Here, K through 12 facts, private school facts, and here United States. So when you're going to go from the Works Cited back into the text and do your parenthetical or in-text citations, you just pick the first couple of words, right? That was a little side trip. Okay, so now he's showing again how, let's see, oh no, we're down to the second point, sorry about that. We've gone through the success for students. what's interesting here is, according to the ACT and its report here, the average score for private high school students was 4 points higher than those students attending public schools. But notice he didn't put an in-text citation here. Why didn't he do that? Well, here's why. Because he began the reference up here. The conditions of college and career readiness. That's right there. So he doesn't have to repeat it back here. If you look at the condition of college and career readiness, you can go over here and you've got it, the condition of college and career readiness. Okay? So because he attributed that to this article and tagged it ahead of time, he does not have to put the citation again here. Okay? That's the only time you don't have to do it. Because the reader, the main thing with citations is it's a roadmap for the reader to find where the reader needs to go in the works cited. Okay, he has a transition to the next point here, transition word. Another huge aspect of the public versus private school debate is in the correlation of student success due to the school's environments. Okay, what I want to point out, however, is that he did not use the same order of his points as he did in the thesis. He had actually this second and another thing third. So he really should have gone through and just rearranged his thesis to show us the exact roadmap that he used. Okay, I really encourage you to read this whole paper. I'm going to put it up as well as a PDF so you can take a look at it, but I'm just kind of walking you through why it's good. Here's the counter argument. Every argument paper has to have a counter argument. It shows the opposite side that you have taken the time to think about their point of view. Here's a counter argument is that private schools cannot afford to hire properly trained and qualified instructors. And then he goes through and talks about how, yes, statistically, private school teachers earn less, but then he says they still enjoy being in the private school more, and job satisfaction seems to be more of a concern for them than the money. And he has statistics to back it up. Okay, so the counter argument doesn't have to be long, but you should have a source that goes along with how you refute that argument. Yes, it might be true they don't make as much money, but, and the refutation is, teacher satisfaction is a huge factor in a teacher's effectiveness and style. Teacher satisfaction leads to a higher interest in student success, allowing private schools to provide a better learning environment and higher quality education. So he brings everything back around to the private versus over public. Now, I'd like to point out here that this next paragraph is not a necessary one that you have to put in an argument essay, because what he's doing here is giving a little bit of a solution to the problem of finances. And really all he has to do to be a successful, have a successful paper here is to prove his point. But he's gone ahead, taken it one step further, and shown how there are a lot of programs out there now that are allowing parents to take the money that would go to a public school and help out with tuition. So he's giving a little bit of help here. And basically what that does is give us a little bit of emotional connection, the reader. Because, you know, what if your parents couldn't afford to send you to private school? Well, maybe nowadays they could. Or maybe it's something you need to think about for your kids. That's what he's bringing in. Then look down here at all that he's brought us into in his conclusion. Parents, parents, parents. Okay, so he's again stressing the fact that, you know, parents need to think about the success factor, figure out what they can do really to help their kids the most in life. Okay, so I'm going to put this under Carver argument example annotated. So you can see annotated because you can see all the comments that I made. And that is a successful 121 argument research essay.